The NFL trade deadline is 12 days away, and ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, along with ESPN analyst who does more of the X's and O's breakdown, Matt Bowen, ranked and broke down the top 25 trade candidates for this trade cycle. So we'll go through the list, kind of react, I'll give some thoughts on each player, and we'll go from there. Okay, Trey Hendrickson is their number one trade candidate, as obviously the Bengals edge rusher is been connected to trade rumors for 2 years now. Last offseason, he requested a trade, didn't happen. This offseason, requested a trade, didn't happen. Got a raise for this year, but is still set to be a free agent this offseason. Had the Bengals lost to the Steelers a week ago on Thursday Night Football, I think this would be scorching hot right now. I think this would be, hell, he might have already been traded. But since they won that game, and the AFC North is up for grabs, and the Bengals are still holding out hope they could get Joe Burrow back late in the season. They're not punting on this season. Unless they lose to the Jets this week, maybe they would reconsider at that point. I don't think he's moving at this point in time, though, because they play the Jets and the Bears both at home the next 2 weeks. You win at least one of those, you're 4-5 heading into the trade deadline. I don't think you're trading your best defensive player. You're trying to keep the season alive. Okay, Jaylen Waddle with the Miami Dolphins. He is the second player on this list. There's been some buzz here. I think Miami is a little reluctant to trade him because he is a young player, still a very good wide receiver. While the team needs a major overhaul, I don't know moving Jaylen Waddle is a piece that they would want to do. There's been a lot of buzz around Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and others, but we'll see. If they get a big enough offer, if a team offered a first, that would be pretty tempting, but if not, my guess is he stays. A guy that I absolutely think should get traded is Breece Hall, the Jets running back. I've been consistent with this. The Jets are nowhere close. They're 0-7. They're not going to be in a position to win next year. Aaron Rodgers still has a $30 million dead cap hit next year. Justin Fields has a $20-something million dead cap hit next year. They're not going to have a big opportunity to make a major jump next year. So does it make sense with Breece Hall set to be a free agent to keep him for the rest of this year when signing him this offseason to a $10, $12 million per year contract doesn't make sense with how far they are away for a running back? They should trade him without question. Now, if they don't get decent offers, like if the best offer is a sixth, okay, keep him. Like that's a bad offer. But if they get a fourth, certainly a day 2 pick, even a fifth, I would probably just take it and move on there. They really like Braylon Allen, who's going to be back from injury soon. Keeping him on that team with his contract situation coming up makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, Woolen with the Seahawks. This is an interesting one because, there's been chatter about this for over a month now. And, Jeremy Fowler wrote up that they don't, and Matt Bowen as well, they don't necessarily view him as a scheme fit. Now, he played a lot the other night because they had a couple guys out, Devon Witherspoon, and who's the other corner that was out, producer Cullen? Julian Love, one of their other DBs. Regardless, Woolen played a lot in that game, and I thought he played really well against the Houston Texans, but there's been chatter they don't view him as a scheme fit. He's also a pending free agent, so they have a tough call to make because obviously they're contending. Do they want to trade away, at minimum, a good backup when they're trying to win this year? So we'll see how that goes. If they trade him, it's a clear signal that they did not have plans of signing him this offseason. Okay, Jakobi Meyers, kind of like Breece Hall, pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, the Raiders stink. He wants a pay raise. They didn't give it to him. He said the other day he still wants out. He still wants to be traded. He's going to continue to be a professional, like you said, but he wants to play elsewhere. The Raiders aren't winning. They also have two young guys in Dante Thornton Jr. And Jack Besh who aren't playing full-time roles, largely due to Jakobi Meyers' status. So I would trade him. I don't know what it would get for him, probably like a fourth or something like that, but the Giants would be interested. The Steelers would be interested. I think he's a guy that you move if you're Las Vegas, especially if you're keeping Max Crosby. If you're not going to do the big trade for a lot of assets, at least get Jakobi Meyers out and get something for him. Subscribe to 4Verts. If a big trade happens, we'll cover it here on the channel. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Appreciate all the love and support recently. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers recently. If you are one of those, be sure to turn on that notification bell. That way you know exactly when we publish a video. Okay, Mark Andrews, the Baltimore tight end. I think this one comes down to this weekend, or really the next 5 days starting Sunday. The Ravens play the Bears on Sunday, and then they play Thursday Night Football against the Dolphins. If they go 0-2, certainly I think you would start considering trading pieces, especially older guys. 1-1, even though, let's say they split these next 2 games, you'd be 2-6. I mean, that's a big hole to get out of. I think if the Ravens lose Sunday, keep an eye on Mark Andrews. They already have Isaiah Likely waiting in the wings, a good player. Andrews is 30 now. Like, I don't think if you're Baltimore, you would go into major sell mode, certainly not like your younger guys. They would run it back with a lot of their core next year, but Isaiah Likely can take on a bigger role. I think Andrews is a guy you would consider pivoting off from at the trade deadline if you're not in the mix to make a run. Okay, Chris Olave, the 7th player on the ESPN trade candidates list, the Saints wide receiver. Now, Diana Rossini, in a separate report, mentioned that there's been internal discussions of an extension for Olave. And, this is kind of an interesting spot for the Saints because, they've been scrappy this year. They're 1-6. I don't know how close they actually are from a roster standpoint, but he is a young player. If you could get him on a reasonable deal, given his concussion history, I wouldn't blame them if they kept him. I mean, you don't want to get rid of all your good players, especially if you're a young team. Maybe you would keep one of him in Rashid Shaheed, trade the other one. I'd be looking to trade off some of those older defensive pieces. I know Demario Davis has been there forever, but if you could get a decent pick for him, I'd consider moving him. So we'll see what the Saints do. I think they're a team to watch, just like the Miami Dolphins. Jaylen Phillips, we already mentioned Jaylen Waddle earlier. Phillips sounds like a guy they're more willing to move. He's in his 5th-year option of his rookie deal. There seems to be some reluctancy to extend him. He's having a good year. His pressure rate's over 15% this year. Only a couple sacks, but he's been in the backfield a lot. I think Miami in general should trade a lot of pieces, and I think Jaylen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, at minimum, you should trade one of those. I look at the Commanders a couple of years ago. Remember they had Montez Sweat and Chase Young, and all the reporting was they're going to trade at least one of these guys. Well, they ended up trading both. And they kind of hit the reset button and were able to kind of retool pretty quickly. So I could see Miami doing that here, but I think at least one of Phillips or Chubb will be gone. Okay, Alontae Taylor, another Saint here, corner who's probably having his best year. So, again, it's a little tough for the Saints because he is a young player, but he's in a contract year. If you're the Jets, the Saints, the Dolphins, these bad teams, you got to figure out, especially for expiring contracts, who are guys you want to keep long-term. Is Alontae Taylor a building block moving forward? If you think so, cool. Keep him and extend him. If not, then trade him, get what you can for him. I could see them going either way on this one. Similar to Jermaine Johnson. Now, the Jets can be a little more patient here because his 5th-year option's already been exercised, and that's not until next year. He's coming off that Achilles. He's played in just 4 games this year. Has flashed a little bit, but been a little inconsistent in 4 games. He tweeted out, and he's been pretty consistent with this, that he wants to stay a Jet and he wants to be part of a turnaround. He tweeted out the Wolf of Wall Street meme, "I'm not leaving" deal yesterday. So I don't know if he's saying that because that's what he wants or that's what the team has informed him and he agreed to it or whatever. But 12 days from the deadline, things can change. We'll see what happens. Just because he has, been consistent in wanting to stay there doesn't mean the Jets wouldn't trade him. There's been buzz around Will McDonald as well. Who's the best player that will get dealt at the trade deadline this year? If you had to guess, best player that gets traded at this year's trade deadline, who do you think it is? Logan Wilson's an interesting name to monitor as he was recently benched, kind of played in a part-time capacity against Pittsburgh last week on Thursday Night Football. He's been a captain of that team, of that defense, but has not played good football for the last year and a half or so with some other team, with Lou Anarumo and the Colts. Want to bring him in, reunite him with his old DC. Do the Bengals, think about keeping him and getting him back into the fold if they're trying to make a push here? So he's certainly a name to watch as well. Michael Carter, a little bit of a lesser name for the Jets, but if someone needs, a serviceable number 2 or a depth corner, he could be a guy to bring into the fold if teams looking to move on. Again, Jets got to figure out which pieces they want to keep long term. All right, more trade candidates from ESPN to break down, but first, we have got to tell you about our awesome sponsor over at PrizePicks, Daily Fantasy made easy at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Available in most states at this point. You and I make decisions every day, but being right on PrizePicks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement. This season with PrizePicks takes less than 60 seconds to submit a lineup, less than 90 seconds to create an account. The way it works is simple. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups, and if you hit, you win money. It's pretty freaking cool. All sports available. Basketball is back. Hockey's back. Football's in full force. you got soccer as well. It's all there. Esports, it's all available. 2 to 6 player lineups. You can cross over sports in your lineups. The one thing you can't do is if you do a 2-player lineup or a 3-player lineup, you at least have to pick players on 2 or more different teams. You couldn't pick, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in a lineup. So I've got Derrick Henry more than half a rushing and receiving touchdown. It's a goblin pick, easier to hit. I kind of balance it out with a demon pick, harder to hit, but more payout there. Rome Odunze, he's due. He hasn't scored the last 2 weeks after scoring 5 touchdowns the first 4 games. $20 lineup to win $55. Certain lineups pay up to 2,000 times your entry. That's right. $10 can turn into 20,000 with PrizePicks. Get going today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Arden Key is next up here, the edge with the Titans. The report that's been out there is that Tennessee has made everybody available except for Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons. So could a Calvin Ridley be on the move? Could an Arden Key be on the move? Certainly a lot of intriguing pieces on that roster, but I think they're looking for assets to load up for 2026 and beyond. Another Titan, Roger McCreary, mostly a slot corner, pretty good one, but doesn't really give you much on the outside. He's got really short arms, so kind of limits what you can do with him as a player. But if a contender needs a slot, he could be a piece to go add. One more, Chig Okonkwo, the tight end from the Titans. He's reportedly available as well. Arnold Ebiketie has flashed some this year, but with the draft picks of Jaylen Walker and James Pierce Jr., he's kind of been reduced to a more of a rotation role. And I think if you're a team trading for him, that's what you'd be looking for, like a third edge rusher, someone who could come in, rotate, and rush the passer. So he could be someone that a team could buy low on. Braxton Jones with the Bears, they benched him a couple of weeks ago, but he has over 40 starts under his belt at left tackle. He had a big ankle surgery this offseason, so I think he was kind of slowly coming along. Didn't quite look the same, but he's reportedly healthy now. You think about a team like the Chargers, who lost Rashawn Slater before the season. Joe Walt's hurt. Sounds like he's going to come back soon, but that could be some insurance there, or maybe you could put Jones over on the right side, would give you some options. So maybe the Raiders, but they're not contending, so maybe they wouldn't go that route. But for the Bears, they're certainly not going to bring him back next year, as he's set to be a free agent, so they might look to get a pick for him. Kingsley Enagbare, the edge with the Packers. Obviously, after trading Micah Parsons, you have Rashawn Gary. Makes a guy like Enagbare dispensable, so we'll see if they try to unload him. Russell Wilson with the Giants. When the Bengals were in QB hell a couple weeks ago, there was chatter around him, around Kirk Cousins, who we'll get to in a second, but I don't know of a team right now that makes sense for Russ currently. I mean, who would make sense for Russell Wilson, because you're not going to bring him in as a backup, and I don't know if there's any team contending that would need him or would have him as an upgrade right now. With both him and Kirk, who we'll get to in a second, if a contender loses a starter, could that change things? Maybe even add Jameis Winston to this. But right now, I think with everything Russ brings, just from whether it's fair or not, there's always kind of a looming distraction there. Unless he's your clear-cut starter, there's no reason to have him on your team. Cam Taylor-Britt with the Bengals, he was also benched recently, but has played a lot of ball in his career, could provide some quality depth or be kind of a low-end CB2 for a team, so maybe he's an option for someone. Same deal with Kirk Cousins. Now, I think there's certain teams that would rather have Cousins than Russ, especially if you think of like a Shanahan-style system. He's played in those. Kevin O'Connell, obviously Zach Robinson with the Falcons runs a similar scheme. So if a contender loses its quarterback with that type of offense, I could see Kirk being an option. Now, what would happen with the money? The Falcons seem comfortable having him as a high-priced backup. Michael Penix has a minor foot issue now, so this wouldn't certainly happen in the next couple days before Sunday. But if a team loses its starter for a contender between now and the deadline, I think there's at least a chance that Kirk Cousins could get moved. What say you? Will Kirk Cousins get traded? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. Probably not, but if there's an injury among a team that's 500 or better, don't rule it out. Kyle Duggar with the Patriots, there was buzz before the season as well. He's got an expensive contract. He did not play well last year, has not played that well this year. He's been reduced to a backup role. I'm guessing the Patriots would be willing to eat some money in terms of the cash flow if a team's willing to take on his cap hit contract. Jerome Ford, rotation back, brings some physicality. Obviously, Judkins is the Browns' RB1. They got Dylan Sampson as well, so Jerome Ford isn't really needed there. They would probably, pick swap, late round pick. I don't think it would cost much to get him. Christian Harris, off-ball linebacker for the Texans. Keep an eye on Houston. If they lose another game or two before the deadline, they might look to pivot off some vets. And then Evan Neal, the Giants, I think, would take anything at this point. Has not worked out as a former first-round pick. Could a lesser team that's just looking for young developmental talent take a chance on him? If the Raiders have had some O-line issues, maybe a pick swap for him just to see what he can do. But he's clearly not in the Giants' long-term plans. There you have it, 25 trade candidates from ESPN, ranking them from 1 to 25 with my reaction here on 4 Verts. Trade buzz, rumors, it's popping off every single day. So when there's relevant stories out there, we bring them to you here on 4 Verts. So please subscribe. I will have a Thursday Night Football breakdown for you guys tonight as who's playing? Drawing a blank here. Chargers, Vikings. Carson Wentz again. Can't wait. We'll be breaking that one down for you guys. So we'll see you then here on 4 Verts. Subscribe and stay tuned.